And welcome back to the Cincy Sports Scene, your go-to podcast for all things Cincinnati sports. I'm Dave, joined by Sam and Charlie, and we've got a packed episode for you today. From UC and Xavier's postseason hopes to FCC's early struggles and the latest on the Bengals free agency. We're covering it all here. Plus, we've got our highly anticipated Reds preseason predictions and a special March Madness bracket breakdown. So stick around for trivia where you can win by sending in your answers. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join in the conversation. So let's get into it, gentlemen. How was your week, first of all?
Mine was pretty good. Can't complain.
Yeah, mine was good, but a lot of it's looking forward to what's in the near future. So that's just spring break coming up in a week or so. Gonna enjoy that. Owen will be in from the Air Force Academy. My Sam is in Costa Rica right now doing a medical mission trip. So a lot of things going on. My house is sold and
congrats.
just waiting for all the other stuff to happen now. I mean, it's under contract. So I got
good.
So got another couple weeks till it closes, and hopefully nothing goofy comes up between now and then. So
fingers crossed.
That's it.
Good luck with that.
Good times.
Yes, it is. My week was great. The warm weather was really, really nice. Now we're back to the doom and gloom of March here in Cincinnati. But hey, I digress. Let's go ahead and move on with our the week that was UC basketball and Xavier basketball. You know, UC won one game, got smoked by Iowa State. Xavier had a close game with Marquette, which actually they should have won. They were up 14 and they lost. UC is out of the tournament. Xavier's a bubble team right now. Looks like they're the first four out, I believe.
Hey, don't be forgetting about the Vegas
Miami.
tournament.
No. The Crown.
The Crown. Yeah.
Which is like 3 weeks later.
You said UC's out. Wait a minute. They got the Crown to play.
They're out.
They might only have 2 guys on the roster left to play it. I mean, it might be.
They might.
There's money on the line in the Crown. The whole squad will be there. So
I don't know about that. I think guys are still gonna bail because the transfer portal opens a week before that.
You are right. So thoughts on any thoughts on UC basketball season wrap up? I mean, I think we can all say
disappointing failure.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can leave it at that.
Wes is on the hot seat entering year 5, right?
He should be entering year 5, but yeah, we've gone over that already.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right. Yeah, I saw the Villanova coach was and the UNLV coach was both fired, and they had I think 3 years for Villanova and 4 years for UNLV. So Wes is going on to a 5th year, so he definitely can't complain that he hasn't had the time.
Right. All right, so let's go ahead. I know the brackets come out at the reveal show comes out at 6 tonight. And we are, as you're listening to this, it's Sunday around noon, so we don't have the brackets in. So we're going to take a guess, and we're going to talk a little bit about March Madness here, who we think the number 1 overall seed might be, and maybe like a Final Four prediction without knowing.
Well, do we think real quick before we get into that? I know I kind of glossed over it, but is Xavier's on? Are they going to get
on the
in?
Bubble? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they will.
Yeah,
it depends. If North Carolina gets in, Xavier's out.
Right now, North Carolina. I don't know. I think right now North Carolina's sitting out, aren't they?
They are out right now, but I mean Xavier and North Carolina have a similar resume as far as quad 1 wins. And
North Carolina can't get in. They just can't. They're like 1-13 against quad 1. Like,
right.
You can't put them in.
You can't.
You just can't do it.
But I don't know. I think if Xavier would have obviously beaten Marquette, I think they would have been in. But they need some help.
What's hurting them? Quad 1 wins, I guess, or quad 1 record?
Yep, quad 1 is what's hurting them right now. So we'll see. I mean, I think they're out. I would like for them to be in, but because I think if they get in, they might maybe get to the Sweet 16. But we'll see. Miami. Where's Miami at? I know they're another one. I know. Are they playing for the championship today? Or
They lost last night.
They lost last night. Okay.
Yeah.
They should have won. Up 18 first half,
Ooh.
13 in the second half.
Wow.
A couple times, and they blew it.
Bummer there for the Red Hawks.
Does the NIT tournament still exist?
Yes, it does.
Does it?
Yeah.
I thought they
I've heard nothing. I've heard nothing about it.
Oh.
I thought it went away. I think they still have like the CBI or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But I think the NIT is gone.
Okay. Yeah. Is that the preseason stuff? The preseason NIT? Is that what they do?
Maybe maybe they still have that. I don't know.
Well, if anybody knows, go ahead and I'm not going to look it up right now. So.
I was going to say Miami probably would make that if that still existed.
Well, yeah, that is true. That is true. So the Crown and the CBI, our local teams may be in that, fighting for each other or fighting against each other. UC will probably go to the Crown just because that's Big 12 ties. But enough with local basketball. Let's get on the big stage.
The NIT still exists.
That's what I thought.
And
okay.
The entirety of the tournament's going to be played at Hinkle Fieldhouse.
Wow. So they're getting rid of
Madison Square Garden.
That's even going to be watered down even more, though, with the Crown. And, because you're taking – because I think that's like – isn't that like Big 12, ACC, and –
It's all the power.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's only three. I don't think it's all the four. So
it's not SEC.
SEC.
I think it's
really.
I think it's Big 10, Big 12, and ACC maybe. Or you think it's not Big 10? Well, there's only four. Remember, there's only four power conferences. Well, Big East. It might be Big East. I think it is Big East. Yeah, I think it's Big 12, Big East, and ACC.
Yeah. So I think they're taking three from those three conferences, or no, two from those three conferences.
I think two's guaranteed.
And then they have four at large, I think, is what they're doing.
But anyway. On to the real thing.
Yep. All right. So the overall number one seed, who do you think?
Overall number one?
Yeah, overall number one. Who do you think the committee's going to
go with? I thought it would be Auburn, but I don't think it is anymore.
I think it'll be.
3 of their last 4.
I think it's going to be Duke.
Yeah. I'm thinking Duke, maybe Florida if they win today against Tennessee. But probably Duke.
I mean, the strength of schedule would put Florida there, but Florida also is, a week ago was considered a 2 seed. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And, Cooper Flagg's injury.
Say he's going to be back for the tournament.
Yeah, for the main thing. But if they lose the tournament, the ACC championship game.
They won last night. So
the ACC.
Yeah, they won.
The champs.
They already won.
Okay. I was thinking it was today. I'm sorry. I'm a day behind.
SEC, Big 10, and the American.
Okay.
And then there's probably some smaller.
Yeah. The whatever the VCU one is, that's on.
The A10.
A10.
That's today.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the Ivy League finals today too.
So I say Duke, but
Duke, yeah.
I mean, I guess if Florida wins the SEC tournament, I guess they would be considered just because of the SEC power.
Who do you think Final Four? I mean, just not knowing where they're going to be seated. Obviously, number one seed Duke's going to be in the East if they're the overall number one seed. Florida or Auburn in the South?
Well, it might be Florida and Auburn as one seed.
Yeah, I could see them both getting 1 seeds.
But who's going to be in the South? Who would be the South?
Florida would be in the South.
Then Auburn probably go
Midwest. Well, who's your other team? Houston.
Houston would probably be the West, yeah.
So those 4, you think? Okay. St. John's, number 2 seed?
The 2 seed, yeah.
2 seed. Yeah. All right, Final Four predictions, knowing what we know right now, which is pretty much nothing.
I've got 3 of my 4. I don't know. I haven't come up with a 4th yet. I've got Duke, Florida, and St. John. And then I don't know. I just don't know who my 4th would be. I've really liked all 3 of those schools all year. So I definitely would lean those 3. And then maybe someone's playing well. Michigan State. Throw Michigan State in there.
That's very similar to mine. I have Duke, Florida, Michigan State, and Houston.
Yeah, I mean, Duke, Florida, and I was going back and forth between Michigan State and Houston, Auburn, in there, but I don't think Auburn or Tennessee, they haven't gotten it done, right?
Tennessee could win the SEC final today.
They could, but I don't know if they've gotten it done in the tourney, right? And that's where it counts.
Yeah, that's the Rick Barnes dilemma.
Right. So I would probably go Houston and Michigan State. I like that. I like those 4. Same thing with Auburn, right? I mean, it's tough.
I just don't think Auburn has enough. If Broome is having just even the slightest off night, I don't think they can beat another good team.
A sleeper that might, do some damage, not a Cinderella, but just a sleeper, somebody, somewhere between like I would say the 3rd through 9 seeds, maybe.
For me, it's Memphis.
You think it's Memphis?
I think they're a good team, but they just haven't really played anybody that's an elite team. So, I mean, they beat up on the American. I know they squeaked out against Tulane in the semifinals yesterday. But I think they're a team that, if their path is correct, they could be an Elite 8 type team.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, I think it's Penny Hardaway's best team. It's not necessarily his best players that he's had since he's been there, but it's his best team.
What do you think, Charlie?
Well, you're talking about, I have a few more like Cinderella kind of teams, but I'm trying to think of a team that's a little bit higher than that could squeak, cause some damage.
Maybe somebody like an Oregon or a BYU, to me, if BYU gets hot from 3.
I've got another team. It depends on where they're seated. I think they could potentially be an 8-9 seed, but that's Drake.
Yeah.
I think
I put them in
my second weekend team.
I put them in my Cinderella group.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think that they could get a single-digit seed. They're 30-2, 30-3, or something like that. They're
30-3.
They're really good. That's a head coach I wouldn't mind having. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, he's only been there for a year.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Exactly. He can come in. He can turn your program. Drake didn't need to really be turned around, but.
An interesting one this year would be Gonzaga, because they're not as highly ranked as they usually are. They basically had to win their tournament to get in, and they still got in. I feel like Gonzaga almost maybe does better when that scenario versus, they're a 1 seed and they lose in the second weekend or whatever. Because they had a streak for a while of making the Sweet 16, I think, for a number of years in a row. But that was kind of where they would stop. So I don't know. Maybe this would be the, kind of the opposite effect for them. Because I know they do have talent. I think they were top 10 at the beginning of the year. I put Arkansas as a team that's a team I wouldn't want to play just because of the talent of Arkansas. And they're getting one of their best players back who's been injured for the last month and a half or something. So, John Calipari doesn't have a great record with NCAA tournament over the last 5-6 years, but he has won a national championship. He can't just forget everything. So just because of talent alone, I wouldn't want to. I think right now Lenardi has them as a 10 seed. I wouldn't want to play them as a 2 seed. I wouldn't want them to be in my bracket as my second game.
Right. That'd be scary for that 2 seed. What about Louisville? Any thoughts on Louisville?
I think they're playing above what they really are.
Yeah, I think so too.
But
I watched that.
Yeah, go on. No, you go on.
I watched that Duke game last night, and Flag wasn't playing, and they stuck with them first half, early second half, but then Duke pulled away. I think you have a team that just has more talent than them, they're going to lose. They can't really play above themselves, I don't think.
Well, the thing that, the Louisville example is what makes the UC example even worse. You have a local Cincinnati guy who's the head coach who comes in his first year and goes 18-2 in the ACC. It makes Wes Miller look even more awful. They obviously chose poorly in who they went with when you got a Cincinnati guy they could have chosen. And he, in 1 year, in 1 year, not 4 years, 5 years, in 1 year is 18-2 in their league. It makes it so anytime somebody brings up, well, Wes Miller's only had 4 years and, you can't do it. You're like, what are you talking about? Louisville's done it in a year.
One.
They were awful the last couple of years. I think they won 6 games the last
Yeah.
But St. John's different because it's Rick Pitino. I mean, he can just wave a magic wand. Pat Kelsey, he's no name. I mean, in route. So he just does. He's just a better coach. He just can develop players better. I mean, and they're all transfers. They have nobody that's back from last year because they were terrible. And somehow they're second in the ACC, make the ACC championship, and here's UC who can't even sniff anything in the top half of the Big 12. So I don't know.
Yeah,
just another shot to me.
Yep. So what we're might be doing here, once the brackets are revealed, we may fill them out, post them online on our socials, challenge you all out there that are listening to join the bracket. We'll have Commissioner Crawley do that for us, do our bracket challenge and see who can pick the best bracket. So be expecting that here in the next week or so, or week, I guess, because by Thursday we've got to have that up and running. All right, let's move on to FC Cincinnati and talk about their struggles. I know last week on our show, Carly, you brought up the point. It was real similar. You had that eerie feeling of last year early on where the offense just was not clicking and not scoring, and we had to play a lot of defense. And you mentioned last week that you felt it could be deja vu, and then after this week losing 3-1 and then 2-0, what are your thoughts moving forward as we get into just the MLS season?
Nothing's much changed. I mean, they just seem very disjointed. I didn't watch either of the games this week, but I mean, Charlotte's a mid-level MLS team, and beat them 2-0. They didn't score. A lot of just these talented parts that are not coming together yet. So does that mean they can't? No. I mean, especially as long as the freaking MLS season is the longest season by far. Any sport, any U.S. sport there is. Maybe NBA, that's pretty dang long too. but anyway, so I don't know. I mean, we got a long ways to go. I think it's just going to take a lot of time. Still missing Miazga in the defense. I mean, they're starting guys. One guy got a red card, one of their center backs. That's a new guy. Again, don't know anything about him. So I think it's going to take some time, or obviously it's going to take time for them to get going. So I'm hoping again by say like June.
Yep. Sam, what about your take?
Yeah, I pretty similar to Crawley. I think maybe a little quicker now that they're out of Champions League. They don't have to worry about those midweek games anymore. So that'll help with some of the rest, just because it's tough for MLS teams to compete in Champions League because they're playing by different rules than everybody else. Just their roster construction, they still have to adhere to MLS's salary cap and all of those rules. So whereas the Mexican teams don't have to do that, and I mean the other teams in CONCACAF don't have to do that. Like I saw something that Cincinnati spent the most money of any team in CONCACAF this past off season, but they could only bring in 3 players just because of how the MLS rules are set up. So they're not set up to do well in Champions League unless you're able to skirt the rules and get messy. That's it. MLS teams never do well in that tournament. But I think it'll allow them to click maybe a little quicker than June now, since they're not in that. They'll have a little more time midweek to focus on rest and just cohesion and practice and not getting ready for games. So I'd say, we should have this click in here, I'd say, in the next couple weeks.
That was my thought with the next couple of games are just Saturday only games, and it makes it, like you said, a little more rest, a little more cohesion, working together, trying to figure out the moving pieces, and just having them gel a little bit as well. So, hopefully you got Atlanta coming up next. You got to travel there. Hopefully they can play well, I guess, is what you're looking for right now, is to play well and work on the things that you need to work on. Okay. We're going to be moving on. Bengals news. couple of interesting items out there. First, free agency. We can talk a little bit about how that shaped up. And then obviously the big news that was reported late last week and then yesterday saw some things out there saying that the Bengals and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are really close to signing their deals. So where do you want to go first? Do you want to talk Chase and Higgins, or do you want to talk free agency? What they did or did not do?
I don't know what there is to talk about with Chase or Higgins. I mean, who reported that? Who reported it's close? The Bengals?
No.
They put out false information all the time. Right. So just to make them, the Reds and the Bengals are great at that.
I think.
That came out on Friday morning. Well, it's Sunday right now. They're still not signed. Right. So how close? Close to me means like they're the agents. The guys are sitting in the office and they just need to sign it. Put their signature on. So obviously they weren't that close. Myles Garrett's close. Yep. He actually signed. That's close.
So right. It sounds like the Bengals think they're close, but the players maybe don't. That's because I think the Bengals are always more optimistic on these deals, which I don't know why they would be, because they know that they're, they know how they operate. I don't know why they'd ever be optimistic.
I
don't know. They just need to get it done. That's just the bottom line. If you're going to re-sign these guys, just get it done already. Just what are you waiting for? Why are you continuing to wait? Nothing good comes from waiting, especially in Jamar Chase's instance. Nothing good can happen.
Right.
Just if you sign,
if you would have signed early last year, right, when the window was open, probably would have got him for 31 and a half to beat Jefferson's. Now you're looking at 10 extra million because he's going to go over 40.
Right.
Yeah, he's going to beat Garrett.
Right.
It's not. I'm sure it's not about the dollars. It's about the guarantees, because they will not. They won't sign that. They won't sign so much guaranteed money into a second year or whatever it is. So I'm sure that's what it is.
Yep. So let's talk free agency. The Bengals brought back some players. They went out and got a few different ones.
Since our team was so great last year, the defense especially, I really wanted all of them back. I see. Yeah, report card for me is easy on the Bengals free agency.
Big ol' F.
I'll give them a D- because of TJ Slaton. At least they did. Their run defense is terrible, but so is their pass defense. So, but the run defense is terrible. So, bring in a guy who's rated fairly high on run defense. I'll give him a D- for that. I don't know how you go above that. They're awful. Their free agency is terrible. Yeah. It's normal Bengals. It's just terrible. They're doing nothing.
Yep.
How do you not bring Joey Bosa in? $12 million for Joey Bosa. Even if he plays 8 games, he's better than anybody the Bengals have for those 8 games.
Yep.
Put him on one side and Hendricks on the other side.
Yeah, I thought they should have went after Bosa too.
Yep, but they didn't.
So D- for me. I don't know how you go above that.
And they still haven't gotten any guards.
Right.
No guards.
So
no defensive backs.
Cordell Bolson. He's your starter.
And I think Ford is.
Well, those are both your starters. You got a guy who's a backup and a guy who maybe even shouldn't be in the league as your guards right now.
Yep.
And we're protecting Joe Burrow.
Unless they move Mike Lee, the rookie from last year, over to guard.
If he was good, you would.
I think they would keep him at center and move Karras.
They're not going to move Karras over.
Because Lee's even smaller than Karras. I don't think you can move him to guard. I think he's too small.
Well,
he's like 280. He's not a big dude.
No.
The question to me is, now we're a week in the free agency, right?
Right.
Are the Bengals closer to winning a Super Bowl today than they were a week ago?
No, nope, not at all.
Hey, they're probably going to bring back a Awuzie though.
I saw that report. There we go. Bring him back. Shore up that secondary. Him and Geno Stone back there. Oh, mercy.
I think you're closer to Joe Burrow saying adios than you are to Bengals winning Super Bowl.
Yep.
Yeah. As of right now, yeah.
Yep. I do too. Okay. So there you have it. We're, as you can tell, we're not real pleased with what the Bengals have done. Free agency wise, and they might have been kicking tires, but that's all they were doing. If they even did that with certain people.
Yeah, I mean, you won't know that.
Right.
And one approach would be, but obviously they're not. Again, they didn't do this approach either. Is, hey, you get Chase and Higgins signed because those are big dollar numbers. So you get them signed right away or as early as possible. Then you know how much money you got left. Right now, they don't know even how much money they got to play with. Because you got $70 million around that still have to be signed. That's not even counting Hendrickson. So get those two finalized, get them out of the way a month ago before free agency. Now you know exactly, okay, this is how much money we got to play with.
Yeah, they do it backwards in Cincinnati, right? And here's the thing. The Bengals know exactly how much money they have because they're not going to sign Chase to long term, and Higgins is going to sign that franchise tag at 26.1. So we have all this extra money because we're not going to sign.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. They know, at least for this year, they know how much they have because Higgins is locked in on the franchise tag. Actually, I don't think that he actually officially signed it, did he?
He hasn't signed it yet.
Okay, so I guess he's not technically locked in, but you can pencil in that number. Chase is still going to be making his rookie year deal his fourth year or his fifth year or whatever this year, regardless of if he signs the extension.
Right.
Trey's, I mean, you'd have to rework it probably. It sounds like he's not going to play under his current, but that's not going to be too big of an increase. So, I mean, they should know what they're playing with for this year if you go out and sign veterans to one-year deals. If they're not even doing that.
Well,
so, I mean, because that's a perfect spot for Bosa. 1 year for $12 million or whatever he got from the Bills. Like, that's a perfect spot because that's what Hubbard was making. That just walked off the books. Right. And you double the production from that spot.
Well, the thing that irritates me, and I think it irritates a lot of us Bengals fans, is that, they complain all the time about they have to draft well, they have to, develop homegrown talent. Well, when they do that, they don't want to pay him that second contract. Right. Jesse Bates is a perfect example of that. And then you had,
he's making less than Dax Hill will make this year.
Bates is
making less than Dax Hill is going to make this year.
Wow.
And they said Jesse Bates is too expensive because they're idiots. No. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it.
They've got to get out of the 60s and 70s way of doing business and get into the 21st century here on how to manipulate the cap and manipulate free agency and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Every other team does it. I mean, I just saw the Chiefs just freed up like $50 million in cap space by turning Mahomes' contract into a signing bonus. It's like you're able to just create $50 million out of thin air, and you're still struggling to get guys on your team. It just screams incompetence and borderline. I mean, do they even know they can do that? Like, I'm not even convinced they know they can do that.
Oh, I'm sure they know they can do that, but the real question is they just don't want to do it. They're set.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to do that? Like, it makes no sense to me.
That's the question. We'll never know. We'll never, because they won't come out and say anything. They have one meeting a year. It's the mock turtle soup with Mike Brown, right? And that's it. And the reporters can't even ask questions. So yeah, it's frustrating. And it's going to be really frustrating come draft time because we won't know what the hell to draft because we don't know where we're going to be standing with T and Jamar. And we should be drafting.
They'll end up taking a receiver just because of the uncertainty.
Yeah.
And then they'll re-sign both those guys anyways. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to be like, they're just inept. They really are. They don't have football people. And I think that's the biggest problem. They just don't have football people.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's what's going to happen.
All right. You got anything to add, Carly? I know we dominated that.
No, you're good. You guys said everything needs to be said. So.
All right, we're going to move on to.
Well, I know we're off next weekend, but I have a feeling that if we had this next weekend, we'd say the same thing. Like it would not surprise me if Chase and Higgins still are both out there. Mm-hmm. I mean,
oh yeah.
I predicted nothing would happen with those guys until the summer. I mean, Bengals would just keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off.
Be closer to training camp, yeah.
Yep. That's probably what's going to happen. We'll see.
So we'll see. I mean, the report that they were close to signing now is 3 days old, so it doesn't sound close to me.
Yep. All right. Let's move on to trivia. Last week, Sam had the question, and Charlie's got it this week. But if you would like to play along, you can go ahead and email us at Cincy or CSSpodcast@gmail.com, or you can look us up on all our socials on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook at Cincy Sports Scene, and you can leave a comment or direct message us there with your answers. So, Sam, why don't you go ahead and just review your question from last week? And
so I don't remember all the answers, but the question was name the top 10 NCAA schools that have the most team national championships. You guys ended up working your way. I think you got 9 out of 10. Actually, you got 10 out of 10 because I read the graph wrong. Abilene Christian, most of their championships came at the D2 level, and I just read the graph wrong, counted it. So technically, Cal would have been in that 10 spot, and you guys had mentioned Cal, so we'll give you guys got 10 out of 10 there.
All right. Carly, you got this week's.
Okay. In honor of spring training, I got a spring training question for you.
Training questions.
Right. Yeah.
Spring training trivia.
That's like, that is like preseason football trivia.
That's right.
Who's the all-time?
Who is the all-time leader in wins in spring training? That's not the question.
Rushing leader for the Bengals in preseason.
Who has the most home runs in Reds history in spring training?
Yeah.
Nope. Your question is: there are 3 MLB teams that go north for their spring training games, like their spring training home park. They go north. Only 3 of them. Who are they?
Miami.
Yeah. Tampa. No, Miami. Go north. Would San Diego?
That is number 2. That is the second.
What about the Diamondbacks?
Thinking maybe Houston.
Oh, they're in Florida, I think. Aren't they?
I thought they were in Arizona.
Maybe Texas.
Dallas is pretty north of Texas, though.
Huh? Yeah.
Are you throwing out Texas?
Yeah, I'm throwing out Texas.
Yeah, they're not.
No. Well.
So Miami, San Diego, and I guess maybe the Diamondbacks go north. I don't know. Maybe they go to the north side of Phoenix.
Yeah, they are the 3rd team.
That's it.
Arizona.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
There you go. San Diego, Miami, Arizona.
All right. There we go, man. Perfect. Okay, so that's going to lead us into our topic of the week, which is our annual Reds preseason preview and prediction show. So we're going to go through and give our players of the year, comeback players of the year, rookie of the year, all the stuff that we have done in the past with some unique names tied to Cincinnati. And, then we'll have like our most important position player. And then we'll also talk about the over-under, make our predictions on the Reds season here. And I know we've got, normally this happens the week before opening day, but we've got, 2 weeks till opening day, a week and a half till opening day. And I think the Reds have 33 in camp. The big news yesterday was Will Benson being sent down. Francona said that he talked to Will. He was the first one in the office of cut day, talked to him for a long time, saying that, they both agree there's a good player in there and he just needs to go down and find it. Thoughts on the Will Benson demotion? Any thoughts at all?
It's kind of expected for me. I kind of figured he'd be the odd man out. Partially just his history with Francona. I mean, Francona was the manager at Cleveland, optioned him to AAA, and then they ended up trading him to us here in Cincinnati. So, I mean, I figured, I don't know their relationship necessarily, but I kind of figured he'd be the odd man out again.
Yeah. I mean, he's been playing quite a bit in spring training, so I think Tito gave him the chance and hasn't done enough to stick. So, last time he got sent down to AAA, he figured some things out. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. I mean, last year he should have been sent down multiple times. So they just don't have any outfielder depth. So
no. And speaking of outfield depth, the other lacking piece of depth, injury news, the injury bug hits Cincinnati again in spring training. Tyler Stevenson is on the IL. Probably might miss the first month of the season with a minor oblique strain.
Air quotes there with the Reds training staff.
Right. We saw this 2 years ago with Matty McLean. Had an oblique injury and tried to play through a little bit, took off a little bit, came back, and then next thing you know, they shut him down for September, hoping that he would heal. And being a catcher, it's not as, I guess, you still are doing a lot of rotations, throwing, swinging, those type of things. It's not like a pitcher, but it's a blow. And right now, Trevino, I think that was a good pickup by Nick Kroll, because Trevino is a Gold Glove all-star caliber catcher behind the plate defensively.
He got banged up too the other day.
Yeah,
I didn't see anything with that. Did he?
Yeah, he said he is perfectly fine. He said if they would have allowed him to play, he would have played yesterday. Just a foul tip off of his thumb, I believe, and he's fine there. So, the backup catching situation, the two spots that we've talked about here on the show is lack of outfield depth and lack of catching depth. So, thoughts on the injury to Ty Steve and what, where are we going to get that production in the lineup?
Yeah, it sucks because I think he was one of our better hitters last year, more consistent guys. Really the production's going to be replaced by CES. I would hope so. That's kind of the immediate, because Trevino's not going to replace him offensively. You can't really rely on the guys you had last year. It's going to have to be CES having a bounce back year, I would think. At least at the, hopefully you can get off to a hot start, the first month, just to replace what we lose in Stevenson.
Yeah, Trevino's not the hitter that Stevenson is. He's probably a better defensive catcher, so pick up a little bit there. But, I think this team, last year, we struggled defensively as well. But so,
yes, we did.
I think Stevenson, I think another, coming this year, I have high hopes for him, be one of the top players on the team. So, I think they need him back. I think they, having a two-headed monster at catcher is good. Maley, was just not good last year, period. So, so they need him back. And, if he's out for a while, I think that's going to hurt him quite a bit.
Yeah, the backup to the backup, Austin Wins.
Right, probably. Who's not even he's not major league caliber.
No. And then you got Trotwine and some other dude.
I'm sure there's some 36-year-old. Tucker Barnhart's probably hanging out somewhere.
Well, Luke Malley might get cut.
Yeah, he's probably still hanging out. Yeah,
something like that. Because I think he's with the Diamondbacks, or no, he's with Kansas City.
Yeah, I was gonna say he got picked up by somebody.
Yeah, and if he gets released, we're not going to get.
He's making a big league roster. No way.
Who knows? But yeah, it's I just hope they don't rush Tyler back. And that's probably the most important thing. I think Francona even said that is we got to keep Tyler from Tyler. That's the most important thing, because with these oblique injuries, and this is what happened with Matty, right? He felt good. He could go out there, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to go out there," and then 2 days later, it flared up again, and it got worse. So you got to make sure that he's 100%. Really look at being on the cautious side with him. Let him go 4 weeks minimum. Get him back around May 1st, and you still have got plenty of the season to go, and that means Trevino catches 4 out of the 5 games each week, or 5 out of the 6 games each week, and Austin wins, catches 1, 3 games, 4 games total, something like that. And then we can, get tie back and move forward. All right, and I guess the last thing we need to talk about before we get into our predictions is the 26-man roster. Who makes it? I mean, and I think for me, it's going to come down to one thing, that 5th outfield spot, and whether that's Fairchild or if it's going to be Herbaces or Dunn if Spencer Steers starts the season on the IL. Thoughts?
No, I agree with you. I think Fairchild, I think him having no options gives him a leg up. So I think if he had options, it'd be potentially different. But I'm guessing he'll be the 4th outfielder, or he'll be slotted in, and then without Steer, I assume Dunn or Hurtubise will be your 5th, right? I mean, they'll pick up even one of those guys. Yep. I have no idea who, because I don't want either one on the team. So
no, Herbert.
So I don't know. So I don't know him.
A good spring, right?
Martini had good spring.
So. Yes.
Martini had a good opening day.
Yeah, he did. Right.
One day out of 162. So
it was better than Mike Ford's days.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't matter to me who those last guys are, because I don't think any of them are. I don't think any of them are really major league caliber outfielders. I don't think Fairchild is major league caliber. So I think the Steer injury, which I don't even know if he's even outfielder. He's not a very good outfielder. No. So I mean, they're talking about Lux playing in the outfield. He's not very
Lux
good.
Will be playing.
Espinal. I mean, he's not an outfielder. So I think you're giving Tito the same issues. I think he's going to have to mix and match guys that are either not major league players or definitely not major league outfielders, but are going to take up some time, which to me is not good. I think it goes back to the one thing that, the one major glaring issue they had from, the offseason was not picking up another real outfielder.
Right.
They got Hayes, okay, but with Steer's injury, now you're back to where you were. So, they needed someone else, and they didn't do it. So now we're stuck with guys who aren't major league players.
There we go. All right. So that takes us into our Cincinnati Reds 2025 awards prediction. So our first one, since we talked about injuries here, is the Corky Miller Comeback Player of the Year award. So Sam, who do you have? I'll type it up here for us. So Sam, who do you have?
I'm going with CES.
Okay.
And he's going to bounce back. Pencil him in for 30-plus homers.
All right, 30-plus homers. I'm going to write that down. Because you know why I'm writing this down? Because last year I had him for something. The MVP, and I said 40 home runs, and he might have gotten 40 at bats.
Yeah, did he get 40 at bats?
And maybe 2 hits.
Yes, exactly. One was a home run, though.
So I have, if I'm next, I have him as well. I'm not predicting 30 home runs. I mean, I'll be happy with 15. I'll be happy if he gets, 400 legitimate at bats. He hits 250, 15 to 18 home runs with his first real year. But yeah, I have him as well.
Okay, wow. I was thinking you were going to go a different direction, the same direction I went. I went with Matty McClain for my Comeback Player of the Year. I just think he's going to be that missing piece that we didn't have last year. So there we go. All right, our next.
Is he going to lead off? Just side. Is he
second.
Going to lead off?
Second, I think Friedel's. Yeah,
I think so far, that's what it's been.
Yeah. And Francona did say Ellie is batting third. All right, so the Big Donkey Sabermetric Award winner. Carly, who are you going with?
I have Ellie, stat stuff and, everything, including errors. But there's probably nothing on the statistics that he won't. I'd love his walks to be higher and strikeouts to go down. So that to me is the biggest question is that. But so I have Ellie. I think he's gonna have a really good year.
I thought long and hard of Ellie as well, but the strikeouts and the walks were the two things I'm like that could hurt him in this category. So I went with Matty McClain again there, just because I think if he's going to be the comeback player of the year.
I mean, you could have him be every offensive category as
yes,
Matt McClain.
You
probably could.
You could. So that's who I went with. So Sam, what about you?
Debated changing this with the recent news, but I'm going to keep it at Tyler Stevenson. I think he's going to draw a lot of walks. He doesn't strike out a whole lot. When he comes back, I think he's going to be the number 4 hitter, so he's going to have a lot of RBI opportunities. Defensively is whatever, but sabermetrics are more offense. I think he's going to have really good counting numbers on the offensive side.
Okay, moving on to our next category. And we tweaked it a little bit, but we're doing the Spud Sabo rookie or newcomer of the year.
Oh, we did? So, I have only a rookie. Okay.
Yeah, so rookie or newcomer, because I don't think there's any rookies on the.
Well, you could pick a guy who's going to start out in AAA or the minors and move him up. Okay, well that changes my answer. It's fine. You go first. So, I'm not first.
Yeah, I'll go first. So my rookie / newcomer of the year is Jose Trevino. I just think that we're already seeing the value of him as far as moving into that starting role behind the plate, and I just think that the pitchers are going to love throwing to him, and I think he's going to do a nice job holding down the fort until Tyler Stevenson can get back.
I'm going to go with Brady Singer. I think just being a middle of the rotation guy, I think you can pencil him in for 30 starts. He's just going to bring some consistency. He's not going to be dominant, but he's not going to be bad either. I think he's going to be a good, solid number 3 starter. And, they need that. They need somebody that's going to make 30 starts, get him 180 innings. You don't have to worry about his arm health, stuff like that.
I don't know about that. The last three Royals pitchers we had didn't pan out. And it seems like every time we get a pitcher, highly talented pitcher that comes to Cincinnati, they have arm issues that very first year. So let's hope that doesn't happen.
We're not expecting him to be the guy. I think that's the difference.
That is the difference. You are correct. You are correct. Crawley.
Well, I changed it just now because I was thinking it was rookie. So I have 2 guys. I would have loved to have said Gavin Lux. I think he's really good. I think we're not going to, but he's really good for a team that can actually use him at second base, and which is what his position needs to be. And so he's going to get. I think he's going to be more limited than what I would hope he would be if you. So I think in our situation, I'm going to go with Austin Hayes because I'm hoping he's the best outfielder on the team. So he's of the outfielders of our biggest weakness from last year. He's the one pickup they made. So if he doesn't do it, I'm very concerned about the Reds not living up to what we're hoping they're going to live up to.
All right, moving on to our Mario Soto most valuable pitcher of the year. So Sam, who do you have here?
I'm going with the same guy I did last year, Hunter Green. He's the quote-unquote ace. He's got opening day this year. I think he's going to make another improvement off of what he did last year. Yeah, that's all he's got to do is just stay healthy. If he makes 28 starts, I think that's what they need to get out of him this year. If he can do that, he's got a real good chance to be an all-star and get some, 5-6 place Cy Young votes.
Nice. All right. Crawley.
I went Hunter Green as well. I figured there was no playing around with this one. Just, he's the best talent. He's the, most upside of anybody. So I agree. If he's healthy, we have a potential Cy Young, at least top contender.
It's a clean sweep. So Hunter Green, here's looking at you, buddy. Bring it home. All right, moving forward are Brandon Drury. You won't be here by the All-Star break, MVP. So, Charlie, you lead us off here.
So I didn't go with the obvious one here. I actually went with Matt McClain just because I think he's not going to be the best player on the team, but I think he's the most important player on the team because they had gotten nothing from him last year, and you saw what happened. We got a good version of Ellie last year, and you saw what happened. So McClain's going to be the difference maker. Ellie's going to be great. He's probably really the MVP, best player on the team. But I think if I'm talking the most valuable player, like who's in terms of wins and losses, is going to be McClain. He needs to be 2023 McClain and even better. And that's where they're going to get their wins from, is him being borderline all-star.
Well, I went with the obvious for me, Ellie. I think, everything you say about Matty McClain, I agree. And that's why I had him as the comeback player in the Sabermetric Award. But I just think Ellie, with his speed, his power, he is working hard on cutting down the strikeouts, and his walk rate is going up. I think he's just going to be a force. And if we can get the batting average up a little bit, walk rate up, and his strikeouts down, he's on base more. I mean, you could look at, a 30-100 guy, right? I mean, you could. So that's where I am going with Ellie De La Cruz. Sam?
With Ellie as well. Because I think he's going to be the best player on the team. I do agree with Crawley. I think McClain is going to be the X factor. If he has a good year, you couple that with Ellie, I think we're a really dangerous team. McClain's just kind of I think we're closer to that 500 mark. So I think McClain's the X factor, but Ellie's still going to be the MVP. I think he might even get some actual MVP consideration.
The next award we have is the Pedro Borbon Rubber Arm Award winner. This one was a little hard for me just because I know our bullpen is almost set, but it's not quite set. And this is where, depending on who our fifth starter is and how long that fifth starter is there, so I went with something that I knew was reliable and who pitched a lot for Bell, and they brought him back. Brent Suter is my rubber arm.
Yeah, who's the other lefty? Is it still Mole?
Mole, but he's. I think he might be. I don't know if he's injured or he had a flare up.
He just hasn't pitched very well.
He has not pitched very well at all.
And yeah, Suter's gonna be working a lot then. I went a little bit different direction. I'm going more who I think will be a swing type pitcher. I'm going with Graham Ashcraft. I think he's going to take over the Martinez role of last year. I think he'll start out as a starter, but I think once Lauder, Abbott, those guys are kind of ready to go, they're going to look between Martinez and Ashcraft who they can move to the bullpen. I think it'll be Ashcraft that they end up moving, but I think he's going to be a guy they throw 2-3 innings out of the pen a couple times a week. So I think he's just going to he's going to eat up a lot of innings out of the bullpen for us, I think.
All right. Charlie?
Yeah, I considered Suter, but I went with Taylor Rogers, I think, or Tyler. Which one do we have? We have Taylor, right?
I don't remember.
I said Taylor, and then I'm like, wait a minute, there's also Tyler. I don't remember. Whichever one it is. Here, I got their depth chart.
It's not the submarine guy, right? It's the
right.
other one.
It's lefty.
It's Taylor. We have Taylor. Yeah, we have Taylor. So I'm going with him. I mean, they got him. They got him in a trade. He's for multiple years now. He's pitched a lot out of the for whatever team he's been and been a closer even. So I think he's, to me, the most important guy in the bullpen because if Diaz struggles,
that's what
Rogers becomes your potential closer, and if he's not any good, then we're in trouble. Back to being in trouble. So I'm going to go Tyler Rogers.
Yeah,
whichever one it is.
You said Taylor.
Taylor,
but yeah,
it is Taylor.
so that is, that's the question, right? Because Diaz has looked horrible in spring training. Yesterday was just
1 out, 5 runs.
Yeah, and I mean, couldn't even get out of the inning, and it was bad, right? It is bad. 2 innings pitched, 18 batters faced so far in spring training. Is he our closer? Is he going to be our closer, or is Francona going to say,
I don't know.
Rogers?
I mean, you could do it by committee too, is whether it's more righties or lefties coming up and all that stuff. So
that is true.
Maybe they don't designate a closer for the first month of the season.
Right, and I like your thought process on Ashcraft. I mean, I thought about Ashcraft there as well.
I think long term he moves into that role, but
I do
maybe
too.
not this year.
I think if Diaz and Rogers struggles, then you put Graham
they could
at the back end.
Yeah.
I think he has enough. He has the stuff to be a back end closer.
I think so too. I think just for him personally, that makes the most sense for his career. That I think it makes the most sense to help this team long term, is if he's a elite back end of the bullpen guy.
Okay, so that leads to our next category, which is our SOB, which is the Son of Bob Executive Coach of the Year Award. Sam, who do you have?
I'm going to go with Tito, just because, I mean, it's pretty much the same roster that Bell had. So we're going to find out if it was Bell's fault or the front office's fault. I think we're going to see that real quick, because we know Tito is a good manager. He's proven that, whereas Bell had never proven it before. So I think we can kind of put to bed the Nick Krall versus David Bell decisions here, and we'll have a definitive answer come July on that one.
Crawley?
Yeah, this one was easy. It's Francona.
Yep.
Sam said everything we need to.
Yep, it's a clean sweep there. All right, moving next, the Luke Weaver Not on My Fantasy Team Award. You have honors there, Crawley.
Might be a little bit surprising, but I went Alexis Diaz. I would not want him on my fantasy team right now. Matter of fact, I had him on my fantasy team last year, and I traded him away because a 5.60 ERA does not help my fantasy team. So I'm worried about him. I know he was terrible last year. As much as people wanted to say that he really wasn't that terrible because he had 17 straight saves, but saves are again, that's like one of those kind of statistics that kind of covers things up. It's like wins and losses almost now. He always had guys on base. His whip was terrible. So I'm worried about Lex Diaz. I think that's part of why they got Taylor Rogers. I think that Scott Barlow guy, because they're worried about him as well. And then he doesn't even get a full spring training in because of his hamstring, whatever the issue is. Yep. So I'm not picking him up on my fantasy team to start the year.
Okay. I went with one that might shock everybody. I don't know, but I said Stu Fairchild.
That does shock for you.
Yeah. That's what
not shocking at all, but just for you.
But shocker for you. Coming out of your mouth.
What I said. That's what I said. It could be shocking to all our listeners out there. They know how much I like Stewie. But yeah, he's not going to be on my fantasy team this year. So sorry, Stu, if you're listening.
Yeah, I think mine's going to be a little surprising too, but I'm going with Spencer Steer. He didn't have a great year last year. Now he's got the injury bug early on. I think it could take a while for him to get up to speed, start really being productive. So, just from a fantasy perspective, somebody you probably want to stay away from. Maybe wait until he's actually proven himself a little bit.
Okay. The second to last category is our Mike Minor League Player of the Year Award. And to me, it has to go to one of the two pitchers, one of the three pitchers that are down there. And this one is probably going to be their AAA, probably the longest. So I'm going to say Chase Burns as mine. Sam?
I think his stuff is going to play really well in the minor leagues. He's got that fastball it's an elite fastball already. It's just going to be a secondary stuff, is how quickly is he going to have full command over those. And that's going to determine when he's finally up in the big leagues, if he gets a chance this year, if it's not until next year. It's going to be that secondary stuff.
All right. Charlie?
Yeah, I actually wrote Chase Burns, but just to be different, I'll say Chase Petty. He has throwing some nice innings already in the spring training. So, I think, 2 years from now, you would hope Rhett Lauder, Chase Burns, your rotation would be Green, Lauder, Chase Burns, and Chase Petty, and then whoever the leftover is from that. That's pretty, so looking forward to, potentially having that as a, starting rotation.
All right. And our last one is our Dr. Teddy Kremchek IL Award winner. Where are we going, Sam?
This guy's going to get a three-peat from me here. It's Nick Lodolo. Until he proves otherwise, that's the name I'm going to choose every year that he's on the team. So,
Crawley?
That is a good one. That's what I went with last year and probably the year before too. But I'm going to change up just because I'm worried about a guy he didn't suffer this injury in spring training. He suffered it during last year and played through it, and it did not help him. And he still has it. I just don't get how these major league players with major league training staffs and all the best doctors in the world and all the best scans and all the best whatever PT in the world, and they still don't get better. And so it's Spencer Steer. I'm concerned. It's been going on all this whole season. Is it going to be something he's going to deal with the entire year?
Yeah, that's a good one. The one that has me worried right now, Ty Stevenson with the oblique injury. I mean, that's who knows how long that's going to take. But I went with Nick Lodolo as well, just because somewhere along the line he is going to end up on the IL, and
it's just a 10-day, and he misses a couple starts. Like it is what it is.
Right, but
I don't. Has he made 20 starts in his career yet? Did
he might have last year.
I thought he got 21 last year, maybe.
Okay. Even that's missing 10 starts out of your number 2. So
right,
11 starts. So
all right.
if he makes more than 22 starts, I'll take it back. I won't choose him next year. But anything under 22, you can just go ahead and pencil him in.
Well, if he doesn't make 22 starts this year,
if he's even on the Reds, yeah.
I was going to say he may be traded next year. I mean, especially with these young bucks coming up.
Yeah, because you don't want to pay arbitration to somebody that's always injured.
Right. So the position player, who are we going with there, Crawley?
I'm going to stick to what I said about the MVP, even though I know Ellie's the best player, Matt McLain. I'm talking most important for winning, not just best player on the team. We had Ellie at a pretty high level, and we won 77 games last year. McLain's going to be the difference. He's going to get us to the numbers that we want. Ellie is the best player. But McLain to me is the most important from the standpoint of wins and losses.
Looking back, I mean, I had Ellie there, but I really think this is a stretch, but I'm going to say TJ Friedl. And the only reason is because if he gets injured again and he has or if he just has a crappy year, we don't have any outfielders, like you said earlier. I mean, our backup center fielder is Stu right now. There's no one down.
Hayes.
Yeah, but Hayes.
Austin Hayes would be your center fielder.
You think so?
If Friedl struggles, they would move Hayes to center, I would think.
Then who's going to be our left? Gavin Lux will be our left fielder then, full time.
Lux or or
they bring Will Benson back up.
Or they bring Benson back up. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's hardly no.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's not a good situation.
No, so that's why I think he's probably, as far as positioning, the one who can't get injured this year, and he has to have a decent Friedl year, right? All right, Sam, who are you going with?
I'm going with McLain. All the reasons Crawley said, like I said earlier, he's going to end up being the X factor. 290 hitter, 20 home runs, 80 RBIs. We're going to be a really good ball club.
All right. And that leads us to our last category. It's the Reds record. Vegas has not bumped it up at all. It's still sitting at 78.5. So the question is, are you going over or under 78.5? And what is our record going to be after 162 games? So, Crawley, I'll let you lead this off.
Well, I'm not going to be the most optimistic of the three of us, so I'll keep it at that. I'm going to go 84 and 78.
Okay, so you're going over.
Oh yeah, I know we're all going to go over, no doubt of that. But
Okay.
I'm sure 84 wins is not going to be the highest of the three of us. I think there's still too many question marks. Outfield is still very suspect. Our closer is barely a closer right now. So,
Sam?
I'm a little more optimistic. I know I said earlier in the winter, 90 wins.
Yes, you did.
I mean, it's not looking great, but I'm going to stick to my guns here. I'm going to say 90 and 72. I'm going to make a bold prediction here and say we're going to play 163, so we get 91 wins officially. It's because the Centrals, I think the Pirates are going to be better than you think. I don't think they're going to be in that 90 win category, but I do think they're going to be better. I think Cardinals will actually be the worst team in the division this year. So that's a separate bold prediction, I guess.
Wow. I said Francona's going to, it's good for at least 5 more victories than what Bell had. And I went, believe it or not, 84 and 78 as well, Crawley.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, that's and the issues, the Ty Stevenson, still don't know, our back end of the bullpen type of piece. Just don't know the sophomore slumps, right? McLean and CES. Yeah, I'm hoping, CES hits 25 bombs or more, and McLean comes back to how he was prior to missing an entire year. But, you still got to play, and you got to play well. And, I'm banking on 84, 78, get us a wild card, and then who knows what will happen there.
One person we didn't mention and his name never came up this entire podcast, is actually the highest paid offensive player on the roster, which is Candelario.
Offensive, Candelario, yeah.
And we didn't even talk about him. That's telling you something right there. That's poor money. That's that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he needs to be significantly better than he was last year.
Yep.
I think he's another X factor. I mean, he's the highest paid player on.
Oh yeah,
offensively.
he is an X factor. He is an X factor.
He should, if he plays like he did last year, 84 and 78 going to be the ceiling.
Yeah, that is true.
Now, the one good thing about Tito is I don't think he gives a crap about what you're paid. So if Candelario is crap, then he'll be DHing and riding the pine for a lot. I think David Bell would never do that. So.
All righty. So that about wraps us up. So let's take a look at that one more time. We all have us going over the 78.5 from Vegas. So make sure that if you'd like to put a little money down, a little wager on that, go ahead and go to your favorite sports book and do that. You can get some good, decent money on the Reds right now. All right, so that's a wrap for this episode of Cincy Sports Scene. Thanks for tuning in and being part of the conversation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment with your thoughts, and let us know your Reds predictions and who you've got also in the Final Four. So please follow us on the social medias at Cincy Sports Scene and send in your trivia answers with a chance to win. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a special episode breaking down our top 10 Reds best moments of our lifetime. And you don't want to miss it. So until next time, everybody stay tuned, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
See you later.